Do you want to be the next Ice Spice? Well, you've come to a place, maybe not the right place, but I'm going to try to teach you the very basics of creating your very first song. Unfortunately, you will have to go somewhere else to learn how to twerk, but let's get started. The most important part about writing music is the feelings you are trying to evoke from your audience, the people tuning into your music. So before you even look up any chords or try to do anything else I cover in this video, you need to think, what am I trying to get them to feel? Is your song sad and somber, or is it abrasive and aggressive? Keeping that in mind, we can move to the very first step of the music production process. Okay, so let's look at chords. Chords are groups of notes that, when put together, create a harmonic background for our melody, which we have yet to write yet, but it is a great director for the melody. So what I like to do is I like to reference the internet and just look up common chord progressions, let's say for rap. We can use I and V, 2 chords, A to E major, blah, 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 blah. Of course, you're probably going to have to reference a different video to truly understand what those words mean. But let's start off with, just writing that down. A minor, which is A, E, A, C, E. And then the fifth of A minor is E major. So we start down here on an E. Let's just say we can loop it, right? And here we go. Now we have the basic building blocks behind our potential future song. Of course, that's really boring, but that's where all of the other parts come into play, right? I'm going to lower this an octave. So that's the very first part of creating your first song. So after we have these basic chords written down for music, I personally like to start working on the basic idea for the melody behind my song. And how I do that is I just kind of mess around. Now you can do that by putting in random notes and trying to figure out notes that sound good with the corresponding chords, or you can just use the scale given to you with the chords. So this is an A minor chord progression. It starts on the root, which is A minor, and then it goes to the fifth, which is E major. So this uses the A minor scale, which starts on an A. Then it just goes up from there. There's no accidentals, nothing like that. Do, 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 do. There we go. So if I play this, you'll see that. I mean, that doesn't sound good, obviously. I'm just showing you the scale. So usually, what I like to do specifically is I like to emphasize the chord progressions using the melody. So since the first one starts on an A, I could start the beat on an A. Of course, this is all off the dome, so if it doesn't sound too good, remember that it's a part of the process. Put some E's into there. And since we're going back to that A, maybe we could do a different note in the A, like a C. Now this is me just messing around, but hopefully you can start filling in the blanks and maybe even start messing around on your own to find something that really sounds good, to really complement whatever you plan on doing. So now we're going back to the E. The fifth of that is a B, so we can go down to a B. Then maybe we can just take this and reflect it back up, because this right here and then we can go back up to the E, and then we can go up to the A. Again, the most important thing you can do here is just try to get ideas down. You don't want to get any specific things yet, because honestly, I don't think there's many artists out there who can just come up with something right off the dome and it's going to sound amazing. You have to really grind it and try your best to put time into it in order to really make a product worth your time. So let's play this and see what it sounds like. I apologize if it sounds terrible. See how it's emphasizing the notes of the chord? That's what you're trying to do. And then here, I'll just put this to keep the chord progression going. And there, now we have a basic idea for the song. What is it going to sound like? Of course, this is a rap beat, so it's primarily atonic. There's not much melody behind it. But if you were trying to do something else, it may be a little more interesting, a little better on the ears and less rhythmic. However you say that word. So, as you can probably already tell, a lot of music creation is pretty much just directed messing around, touching buttons, seeing what sounds good, seeing what doesn't sound as good. So what we do for the rhythm part, I am not personally a drummer, but it is still possible to have something that goes along with the melody. The main purpose of anything to do with percussion is to keep the song going, add the energy, make it a little more upbeat or maybe a little less upbeat. So what I like to do is I take some random kit. It doesn't really matter which one. Say this one. There you go. Add it here. Now Soundtrap has a very fancy feature. It is this drum section, and it's pretty easy. Click that bar, put it right here, and we're also gonna increase the tempo because this is really slow. 155, and then we're just gonna mess around with it. Another thing we probably want to do is emphasize the specific beats up here. And again, this is just a game of messing around, seeing what we can do. Dun, 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 dun. Then we can have the response. Oh, I usually use the hi-hat as like the main driving force and then the snare as the backbone of that. That sounds a bit silly, but yeah. Dut, dut. Dut. All right, then we can shrink this down a little bit. And again, we're just trying to get simple ideas. Remember that you don't want to get too caught up in specific things yet because we don't have a song. We have nothing that we're trying to perfect. You're going to get a very wonky song if you focus on too specific things too early. Now that sounds terrible. So again, no matter how good you are, top producer or some fifth grader trying to get into music to become the next big thing, you're going to write things that sound bad, and that's okay. What matters is that you don't smash your computer screen in and freak out over it. It's, again, not the end of the world if you write something that sounds, let's face it, like shit, like what I just wrote. Now that we have a basic driving beat behind all of this, again, don't try to get it too specific. Let's see what this sounds like all the way through. And then we can go on to the next section. Alright, so here you're gonna have to trust the process a little bit and just take my word that eventually this will be something that you could sit down and watch. What matters is that I have the idea down, and now in the next few steps we're gonna start adding layering, and we're gonna start making things a little more interesting with the instrument choice, because I mean, who listens to grand piano rap beat? That sucks. Anyway, let's move on to the next part.